Your day begins long before you put your feet on the floor. It begins with the thoughts that arise as soon as you wake up. What goes through your mind in the first few minutes of the morning influences how you will act, the weight you will carry, and how you will face challenges. If you wake up complaining, the whole day will seem heavy, but if you wake up with awareness, every moment becomes a step to climb. Feeling good when you wake up is not a coincidence, it's an attitude. And that attitude comes from what you choose to think about as soon as you open your eyes. The ancient Stoics already understood this. For them, each new day was a chance to start over, not a barrier to be faced. Marcus Aurelius, even though he was emperor of one of the greatest empires in history, did not wake up expecting things to be easy. He prepared himself mentally to deal with whatever came his way, with balance and discernment. Waking up with gratitude for the simple fact of being alive is already a huge step. Thinking, breathing, loving, feeling, these are privileges that life offers you every morning. So think, what are you going to do with today's gift? Are you going to waste it with distractions, complaints, and rushing around? Or are you going to take advantage of it to strengthen your mind, align your goals, and act with greater awareness? You can't predict everything that will happen throughout the day, but you can decide how you will react to whatever comes your way. You can choose to act calmly or let yourself be carried away by impulse. You can focus on what is missing or recognize the strength of what you already have. Being resilient is not about enduring everything without feeling. It is about having the flexibility to adapt intelligently. Wisdom is not just about knowing a lot. It is about living with intention and acting fairly and thoughtfully. If you start your day with this kind of mindset, with this presence, nothing outside will distract you from what is important. And now, before you go about your routine, I ask you, how will your day be? If you want to take that first step with confidence and clarity, comment below. Today is going to be an amazing day. And if this message made sense to you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and send this video to someone who also needs to start their day with more purpose. Listen carefully. These are 12 Stoic meditations to help you start your day with firmness and wisdom. 1. The first thought of the morning has power. Few people realize it, but the first few seconds of our day carry immense weight. What you think as soon as you open your eyes, even before you get out of bed, can act as the silent rudder that will guide your entire behavior over the next few hours. This initial thought is not random. It is like an internal command, an almost invisible direction that your brain receives before anything else. It can be subtle, like a feeling, or direct, like a phrase. But it is there, shaping your mood, your decisions, and even your physical disposition. Think about it. If your first thought is, I can't take this routine anymore, or it's going to be another difficult day, what do you think your body and mind will do with that information? How do you think you will react to small, unforeseen events, commitments, interactions with other people? On the other hand, imagine that your first thought is, today is another chance, a chance to be better, to learn, to persevere, to transform. This simple act of choosing a conscious thought, even if you're still sleepy, has the power to make a huge difference between a day that drags on and a day lived with presence. What many people call a heavy routine actually begins in the invisible, in the mind, and more specifically in the way you view the start of your day. You are the one who chooses the lens through which you see the world. If you wake up complaining about the alarm clock, muttering about the cold, thinking of your pending tasks as a punishment, the day has already begun to dominate you. You woke up, but you're still asleep inside. Now imagine waking up as a warrior. Not a warrior who shouts or arms himself with anger, but one who awakens with presence and readiness, who faces the new day as an arena, not where he will be defeated, but where he will have the opportunity to practice what he values most: courage, patience, self-control, resilience. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and Stoic philosopher, said that we must always be ready for whatever life throws our way, not because it will be easy, but because every challenge is an opportunity disguised as an obstacle. He wrote, "At dawn, tell yourself, I will encounter meddlesome, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, envious, and rude people. All this happens because they cannot distinguish good from evil." But he didn't say this to complain. He said it to prepare himself, so as not to be caught off guard, so as not to let the world shape his mood, but to shape himself, regardless of the world. And you? How are you starting your days? Are you surrendering the first minutes of your consciousness to chance, to complaining, to fear? Or are you taking the reins early on, with a thought that strengthens you, that reminds you of who you are trying to become? This is not about toxic positivity, about forcing joy. It's about awareness, about choosing your focus even in the face of chaos, about planting, even in the dark, the seed of intention. Remember, the first thought of the day is like the first step of a long journey. If it's in the right direction, you'll have a much better chance of getting where you want to go. 2. Anticipate challenges, don't run away from them. Many people wake up hoping for a light, calm, problem-free day. But this expectation, while understandable, is dangerous because it is fragile. The slightest setback is enough to make everything fall apart. Unexpected traffic, a harsh message, a delay, criticism. And then your mood changes, your motivation disappears, and the day turns into a lost battle before noon. Expecting life to be easy is like building castles on sand. It's like wishing for a calm sea when you know you're in an unpredictable ocean. And that doesn't mean being negative, it means being realistic. It means preparing to sail even when the waves are high. That's how life is, full of twists and turns, and challenges are no exception. They're part of the journey. Accepting this truth shouldn't make you sad, it should set you free. Because when you accept that obstacles will come, you stop living in denial and start preparing yourself. Preparation is freedom. When you anticipate that the day may require patience, tolerance, self-control, you begin to strengthen your mind even before the first challenge appears. And when it does appear, you are already prepared. You do not despair. You do not react impulsively. You respond clearly because you were not caught off guard. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest representatives of Stoic philosophy, began his days this way. He reminded himself that he would encounter rude, ungrateful, self-centered people. He didn't do this to feed bitterness. On the contrary, he did it to prepare himself, so that the behavior of others would not take away his control over himself. He knew that by preparing himself, he gained a silent power. The power to remain calm, even when everything around him was screaming. Anticipating challenges is a gesture of wisdom, not pessimism. It's like someone going to war and sharpening their sword before leaving. Like someone who knows the road will be long and wears good shoes. Like someone who understands that it will rain and takes a coat, not to avoid the journey, but to continue, even if wet. The challenges you face today are not there to destroy you. They are there to train you. They are the gym for the soul. They are tests that strengthen the spirit and refine your character. When you start the day expecting everything to go your way, any unforeseen event becomes an enemy. But when you start the day aware that setbacks will come, you stop fighting reality and start flowing with it. You become as steady as a rock, not because the world has become easier, but because you have become stronger. So tomorrow, when you wake up, take a deep breath. Remember that there will be challenges, and that's okay. You don't need a perfect day. You just need to be prepared to face it with wisdom, serenity, and courage. Don't run away from challenges, anticipate them. And in doing so, you will discover a strength you may not have known existed within you. 3. Life is short. Don't waste energy on what doesn't matter. Have you ever stopped to think about how precious time is? It's the only resource that once spent never comes back, and ironically it's what we waste the most. We waste hours on empty arguments, on distractions that don't nourish us, on worries that aren't even ours. We live as if we were eternal, but we are finite. Time is passing even now. As you read these words, the hands of the clock are moving forward, and every minute you devote to what has no value is 1 minute less of presence, of building, of meaning. For Stoics, time is a sacred commodity. Seneca said, "It's not that we have little time, it's that we waste too much of it." And that's a painful truth, because we know it's real. How many times have you found yourself consumed by something that deep down meant nothing? An argument in traffic, a snide comment, someone else's opinion that threw you off balance, a habit of scrolling through endless feeds without even knowing what you're looking for. These little attention thieves don't seem dangerous at first glance, but they quietly add up, and before you know it, they've stolen whole chunks of your life. Living isn't just breathing, it's making good use of the time you have. The Stoic understands that not everything deserves a response, not everything deserves a reaction, because reacting is giving away your energy, it's investing your peace, and peace nowadays is worth more than gold. Complaining about what you can't control, insisting on convincing those who don't want to listen, fighting against the flow of reality, all of this is like trying to hold water in your hands. While you're busy with what's useless, what really matters goes unnoticed. The key question you should ask yourself is simple but powerful. Does this deserve my time, my peace, my energy? If the answer is no, let it go, not out of weakness but out of strength. Because it takes strength to choose your own serenity. It takes maturity not to react to what is worthless. You cannot avoid the end of life, but you can avoid a wasted life. Time is short, yes, but it is enough time if you know where to put it. Value silence, cultivate focus, defend your attention as if you were protecting a precious commodity, because that's what it is. Don't waste your fire trying to warm those who don't want to be warmed. Don't waste your light trying to illuminate what insists on remaining in the shadows. Life is too short to get lost in what is small. For you control your actions, not the results. Much of our anguish comes from a subtle but powerful illusion that we can control everything. We make plans, set goals, prepare ourselves, and yet life insists on following its own path. When things don't turn out as we expected, we feel frustration, anger, guilt, even discouragement. But the Stoics offer us a liberating reminder. You don't control the outcome, you only control your conduct. Action, not result. Effort, not guarantee. Choice, not consequence. This is one of the hardest truths to accept, and one of the most transformative. Because as long as you're stuck obsessing over the outcome, you'll always be vulnerable to disappointment. But when you learn to focus on what depends on you, you find a rare kind of peace, the kind that comes from a clear conscience. You can do your best. You can act ethically, courageously, and with dedication. And yet things may turn out differently. And that's okay. It doesn't negate the value of your action. Emotional maturity begins when you stop measuring your worth by what happened and start focusing on what you did with what was within your reach. Epictetus said, "Some things depend on us, others do not." And knowing how to distinguish between these two spheres is perhaps the greatest sign of practical wisdom. You can study hard, but you cannot control the outcome of the test. You can love honestly, but you can't force someone to love you back. You can take care of your health, but you can't avoid all of life's misfortunes. You can work hard, but you can't guarantee immediate recognition. And yet it's still worth it, because the value of life isn't in the applause. It's in the integrity with which you live. It's in the fidelity to your conscience. True freedom lies there, in letting go of control over what is uncertain and firmly embracing what is rightfully yours. Your choices, your attitude, your presence. When you focus on the process, the outcome ceases to dominate you. You act because you believe, because you are committed, because it represents who you are, not because you expect a specific reward in the end. This attitude is not resignation. It is strength. It is serenity. It is living with your feet on the ground and your heart at peace. So the next time something doesn't turn out the way you wanted, don't despair. Ask yourself, did I do what was within my power with truth and integrity? If the answer is yes, then you have won. Because true failure is not in failing, but in abandoning what depends on you because of what does not depend on you. Live in such a way that when you lay your head on your pillow, you can say, "Today I was faithful to what is in my hands. The rest is up to the universe." 5. Accept reality as it is, not as you would like it to be. Much of human suffering stems from resistance. We resist time people change. We want life to follow our script, everything to align with our desires, the world to meet our expectations. But the world does not obey our will. It simply is. And the more you fight against what is, the further you stray from peace. Accepting reality is not giving up. It is seeing clearly. It is having the courage to look at what is in front of you without filters, without denial, without escape. Most of our internal conflicts begin in the clash between reality and our fantasy of how it should be. We want people to change. We want the past to be different. We want the future to come with guarantees. But none of that is under our control. You can spend a lifetime trying to row against the tide, or you can learn to surf the waves that existence presents you with. Epictetus, the Stoic master, said, "It is not events that disturb us, but how we interpret them." This simple phrase carries a revolution. It reminds us that it is not what happens that determines our peace, but the lens through which we view the facts. When you accept reality, you don't settle. You position yourself lucidly. You stop wasting energy trying to change the unchangeable and start investing that energy in what really depends on you. Your choices, your response, your perspective. Acceptance is not surrender, it is alignment. It is stopping fighting with life and starting to walk with it. Imagine someone fighting against the wind. The more force they exert, the more tired, frustrated, and lost they become. But those who accept the wind as part of the journey learn to adjust their sails. They don't change the wind, they change direction. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom. See the world as it is, not as you would like it to be, and yet act with virtue, purpose, and serenity. You cannot change other people's behavior, but you can change how it affects you. You cannot control all situations, but you can choose your attitude towards them. And in that choice lies your power. Acceptance is the fertile ground for transformation. Because only when you accept what is, can you work with it. To deny reality is to live in constant war. To accept it is to make peace with life. This is not passive resignation. It is a quiet strength that looks at the world with open eyes and says, "I see how things are, and yet I choose the best I can be within that." Acceptance is freedom. It is living without fighting the wind. It is discovering that often what you need most is not to change the world, but to change the way you relate to it. 6. Cultivate calm amid chaos. In a fast-paced, noisy, and stimulus-filled world, staying calm has become a form of rebellion. But not impulsive rebellion, rather quiet, steadfast, powerful rebellion. True peace is not found in a place where nothing happens. It is found in learning to be your own refuge, even when everything around you seems to be falling apart. Because true calm does not depend on your surroundings. It comes from your mind. You may be surrounded by conflict, pressure, demands, and the unexpected. And yet you can still take a deep breath, observe, don't react impulsively. You can be in the eye of the storm and still remain steady in your center. The Stoic does not flee from chaos. He enters it with poise. He knows that if he loses his calm, he will be surrendering power to what is outside. And that remaining centered, serene, and lucid is the best response to the imbalance of the world. Calmness is not weakness, it is mastery. Mastery of oneself, of one's own rhythm, of one's own impulses. In an environment where everyone is shouting, those who speak softly command respect. In a world where everyone is running, those who walk steadily inspire confidence. In a time of reactivity, those who know how to wait become rare and precious. Epictetus teaches us that it is not events that take away our peace, but the way we interpret them. So if the chaos outside is shaking you, maybe it's time to look inside. Breathe. Observe before reacting. Choose your battles. Not everything deserves your attention, Not every provocation deserves a response. Calmness is a powerful weapon, and you carry it within you. Use it when everything seems out of control. Use it when words cut, when plans fail, when emotions threaten to overflow. It is precisely in these moments that calm matters most, because anyone can be calm when everything is fine. But it is in chaos that true warriors reveal themselves, and the Stoic is a warrior of the mind. Remember, you are not the chaos that surrounds you. You are the quiet space where that chaos can pass, without overwhelming you. Serenity is like a sharp blade, discreet, elegant, but capable of cutting through the chains of confusion. And the more you cultivate it, the more you realize that it is your greatest shield and also your greatest strength. Stand firm. Be the point of balance where everything falls apart. Be calm even when the world is at war. 7. Don't take anything for granted. Routine has a curious effect. It intoxicates us with the illusion of permanence. It makes it seem like everything we have today will always be within our reach. The people around us, everyday moments, even our health, everything seems guaranteed until it isn't. But the truth is simple and also harsh. Nothing is fixed. Nothing is eternal. Nothing is under absolute control. At any moment, life can change direction. And that's no reason to live in fear. It's a call to live more fully in the present. Seneca said that we should treat each day as an unexpected gift, as a bonus that has been given to us, and that might very well not have come. This view is not morbid, it is liberating, because the more you understand the transience of life, the more value you give to what is before you now. True gratitude comes from understanding impermanence. It's not just about being thankful for big achievements, but for small gestures, silent glances, seemingly mundane routines. Because it's precisely in these details that life truly happens. Think for a moment. You woke up today in good health. You had the chance to breathe, to feel, to think. Perhaps you have someone you love by your side, or you heard the sound of rain, or a bird singing at your window. These simple things, which you hardly notice, are miracles disguised as routine. Don't take any of this for granted. Every encounter could be the last. Every goodbye could be final. Every hug could be unrepeatable. And that is exactly why they are so valuable. Not because they will last forever, but because they won't. Awareness of impermanence takes us off autopilot. It teaches us not to put off saying, "I love you," forgiveness, affection, the courage to live more truthfully. When you understand that everything can change, you stop wasting time on what doesn't matter. You start saying yes to life more. More presence in the moments, more attention to details, more love in the now. Life owes us nothing. Everything it gives us is on loan, not ours to keep. So when you're experiencing something good, coffee with a friend, a sunset, a heartfelt conversation, honor that moment as something sacred, because it is, and because it may never happen again in the same way. Take nothing for granted. Appreciate before absence teaches you its value. Love before time takes it away. Be present before the opportunity passes. This is the invitation of Stoic philosophy. Live in the now with the intensity of someone who knows that nothing is guaranteed, but everything is valuable. 8. Do what must be done, even if no one is watching. We live in a world where the value of actions is often measured by the visibility they receive. Social media, likes, public recognition, everything seems to revolve around applause. But there is a kind of strength that does not seek the spotlight. A discreet, firm, silent strength. It is the strength of integrity, acting with righteousness even when there is no audience, doing the right thing not because you will be praised, but because it is the right thing to do. That is the essence of integrity, an intimate commitment to one's own values. And that is precisely where one of the most powerful lessons of Stoicism lies. For the Stoic, virtue is an end in itself. One does not act with kindness to be seen as good, but because being good is what matters. Character is revealed not only in well-articulated speeches or inspiring posts, but in small actions, often invisible to the eyes of others. The Stoic understands that living with honor is an internal decision, not an external spectacle. The central question of Stoic ethics is simple but profound. If no one knew what I did, would I still do the same? This question forces us to look inward, to confront our most intimate intentions, and the honest answer we give reveals how aligned we are with our conscience. Being honest is difficult. It means resisting the temptation of shortcuts, conveniences, and justifications. It means standing firm even when no one is watching, even when no one applauds, even when no one thanks you. Because in the end, we are the true judges of our actions. The Stoic understands that inner peace comes from this consistency. There can be no tranquility when one lives in disagreement with what one believes. But there is a serene and unshakable strength in those who live according to their principles, even in silence, even in anonymity. So do what must be done, not for others, not for fame, not for recognition, but because you know, deep down, that it is the right thing to do. That is true freedom, that is true power. And that is the path of those who wish to live not just a good life, but a virtuous life. 9. Remember your finitude. It gives meaning to life. Talking about death is still taboo for many. Some avoid the subject as if the mere mention of it could bring about the end. But for the Stoics, facing death head-on is not an act of morbidity. It is an act of courage, an exercise in clarity, a call to lucidity. Memento mori. Remember that you will die. This phrase, repeated by Stoic philosophers such as Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, is not intended to cause fear, but to provoke reflection. Because when you remember your finitude, you begin to see life with different eyes. Time ceases to be something guaranteed and comes to be seen for what it really is, a limited, precious, irreversible resource. The awareness of death has the power to wake us up from the torpor of routine. It cuts through the illusion that there will always be an after. It forces us to ask, what am I doing with the time I have been given? When you understand that life is not infinite, you stop wasting your days with empty distractions, useless fights, and paralyzing fears. You become more present, more attentive, more grateful. You begin to choose more wisely who you are with, where you are, and what you are doing. Death paradoxically teaches us how to live. It reminds us that every gesture could be our last, that every word could be our final one, and that every moment is, for that very reason, deeply valuable. The fear of death begins to disappear when you learn to live with integrity, when you stop putting off your own existence, when you begin to love more courageously, to forgive more lightly, to dream more urgently. Living well is the greatest antidote to the fear of dying. Finitude is not a punishment. It is what makes every second unique. It is what gives density to experiences, meaning to choices, and beauty to encounters. So stop for a moment and reflect. If today were your last day, what would you do differently? More than that, why aren't you doing it yet? Don't wait for the perfect occasion. Don't put off life. It's happening now, at this very moment as you breathe. Remember death, and for that very reason, choose to truly live. 10. Don't depend on the approval of others to live well. From an early age, we are taught to seek approval. Grades from teachers, praise from parents, applause from the public, likes on social media. Without realizing it, we shape our behavior, our choices, even our identity, to be accepted. But there is a high price to pay for this. When you live to please others, you end up distancing yourself from who you really are. The constant search for recognition is an invisible trap. It seems harmless, even comfortable, but little by little it imprisons us. You start to wonder more about what others will think than what really matters to you. And so, your personal value becomes hostage to the opinions of others, something as unstable as the wind. The Stoics saw this danger centuries ago. For them, true freedom lies in living according to reason and virtue, not according to the applause or criticism of the world. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is foolish to let what others say about you disturb you if you remain true to your own nature." What defines who you are is not what others say about you. but what you decide to be, especially when no one is applauding. Your peace should not depend on praise, and your purpose does not need an audience. What matters is your internal consistency, living honestly with what you believe in, even if not everyone understands. Not everyone will approve of your choices, and that's okay. You're not here to meet other people's expectations, but to live a life that makes sense to you. When you learn to say yes to yourself, you also learn to say no to what doesn't represent you. That's strength. That's freedom. The approval of others can be nice, but it should never be essential. Those who live to be accepted lose themselves. Those who live with integrity find a peace that no praise can offer. So take a deep breath and remember, you don't need permission to be who you are. Be honest with your values, follow your path with determination, and let your inner peace be the only applause that really matters. 11. Focus on action, not complaining. It's easy to fall into the trap of complaining. When something gets out of control, when life doesn't go as expected, the mind turns to everything that's wrong. What was missing? What failed? What should have been different? And in this cycle of dissatisfaction, we end up spending time and energy on things that don't change anything at all. Complaining may provide momentary relief, but in the end, it only reinforces the feeling of helplessness. The more you focus on the problem without taking action, the more it grows in your mind. It's like feeding a fire and expecting it to go out. The Stoics teach us another way. When faced with an obstacle, the question is not, why did this happen to me? But rather, what can I do about it? This simple shift in focus changes everything. If there is something to be done, do it. If there isn't, accept it, learn from it, move on. This is the basis of emotional practicality, dealing with facts objectively, without drama, without wasting energy. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The art of living is more like a fight than a dance." In other words, life requires firmness, response, action, not regrets. Turn complaints into action. Use dissatisfaction as motivation, not as a prison. If something bothers you, channel that energy into improving, changing, evolving, because it is through action that reality is transformed, not through complaining. Life does not reward those who play the victim, but those who act responsibly. You can't control everything that happens, but you can always control how you react. And often, the best response to chaos is simply to do what needs to be done, one step at a time. Complaining is easy, acting is courageous. Choose courage, choose attitude, because that's how, with small, consistent actions, big changes happen. 12. Every day, try to be a little better than yesterday. In times of haste and promises of instant transformation, it's easy to forget that real progress is made through consistency, not miracles. The idea of changing everything at once may sound inspiring, but it often only leads to frustration. The reality is simpler and more powerful. You just need to be a little better than yesterday. Progress doesn't have to be huge, it just has to be real. Stoicism reminds us that excellence is not a sudden destination, but a patient construction. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, was not concerned with becoming perfect, but with acting a little better each day, with more wisdom, more justice, more balance. The focus is not on beating others, but on surpassing yourself. Constantly comparing yourself to the world is a sure recipe for anxiety. There will always be someone faster, smarter, more talented. But this comparison is useless. The only fair measure is yourself, who you were yesterday and who you choose to be today. True growth is quiet and persistent. It happens in small choices, waking up a little earlier, breathing before reacting, studying one more paragraph, listening more carefully. These are discrete habits, almost invisible to the eyes of others, but they shape your mind, your character, your destiny. This journey does not require haste, but it does require presence. It does not require perfection, but it does require intention. Sometimes you will fail, you will retreat, you will have bad days. And that's okay. The Stoic does not demand flawless performance from himself. He demands effort, consistency, commitment, because every step, even small ones, counts. Ultimately, what defines a life well lived is not the great achievements, but the path taken with awareness, day after day, in the quest to become a more upright, wiser, more humane version of yourself. Today, try to be a little better than yesterday. Tomorrow, do the same. And so, with patience and determination, you will become everything you were born to be. These were the 12 Stoic meditations to help you start your day with more clarity, resilience, and wisdom. Now tell me here in the comments, which of these reflections touched you the most today? And if you felt that this video helped you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell. Because here there is always content that strengthens the mind and spirit. Oh, and don't leave yet. There's another video appearing on the screen right now with another powerful message for you. Click on it, continue on this journey, and see you in the next one. A big hug, and may your day be amazing. See you soon.